I'm Matt with Main Street Medina. Welcome to another edition of Medina Minute. We're going to sit down and talk with some familiar faces from around town and learn a little bit more about them. So we're here with Lucy Sturgeon of The Busy Witch. Lucy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course.
How did you end up in Medina, Ohio with a metaphysical store?
So honestly, I remember the first time I entered Medina, which was like forever ago. My friend was a server at Sully's.
Okay.
And I remember driving through Medina and just being like falling in love with the scenery and the square, and it was just beautiful. And then I started seeing kind of all the stuff that you and Medina does for their small businesses, like bringing community and driving people here to help with businesses. And it started getting my wheels turning of like, I want this space. I want to be here. Additionally, Medina's a great spot. It's between Cleveland and Worcester and like Akron, so it's very like people. It's smack dab in the middle from where I'm from, which is in Wayne County.
Okay. How did you end up getting into metaphysics? Like as a kid, did you have a sign? How did that happen? And I ask that, I know you and I have had a conversation before. I think it's a world that people maybe don't understand or they don't relate to it. Like when we had Witches Night Out, we got a couple angry messages. Why are you honoring the black magic? And like it's a theme.
It's a theme.
But how did you go down that path?
So I was raised in spirituality. My grandmother worked with angels, and my mother was obsessed with like what we call in the metaphysical world like dream magic, which is just understanding what symbolism within your dreams mean, and trying to think like sort of a divinationary type stuff of like things to pay attention to in your real world, because your subconscious allows you to access, like when you fall asleep you're able to access your subconscious, which in your waking reality you can only access a certain part of your brain. So a lot of times I was kind of raised within that, like burning certain like candles with certain oils on them to help bring energy into a space, like stuff like that kind of. I was doing it my entire life because I was raised within it, like talking to plants. I remember my grandmother going out and like saying like, you have to talk to them. They're living creatures too, and that helps them grow. And like little stuff like that is all within the spiritual aspect of things. It's just that people don't realize that they're doing it.
Right.
So I ended up, when I had no idea what I was doing. Like my family always went to church. Like it was very, like they practiced, like I said, with angels. So I just never really thought about it. And then I ended up going to Columbus, and I met a Druid high priest, which for those of you that don't know what Druidism is, it's an old Celtic religion. And when he first said that, it was like a Druid high priest, I was like, oh, are you into LARPing? Like, I don't really like live action role play. Like, I don't really understand Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I don't really get. And he was like, no, it's like an actual practice. And I was like, oh, okay. So he ended up giving me a bunch of books. And as I was reading through these spiritual books of like mindfulness and meditation and stuff like that, I realized that that's what I've been doing my entire life. I just didn't know the vocabulary for it. It was just I didn't realize that no one else, that it was some sort of like
That's just what grandma and mom were doing. So you were just doing it.
So I eventually started learning more about it, and that's kind of where like I've been doing it my entire life, but it wasn't until about 12 or 13 years ago that I really like dove into it and started learning more about it and what the actual words meant.
So when you're studying this, people often say like you're practicing. Do you, and I mean this in a positive way, do you practice witchcraft?
Yeah, well, I do.
Essentially, I mean, and it's positive witchcraft or white.
Yeah.
Help us understand that whole world.
Of course.
Because it's a world that most people kind of back away from and think, oh, it's bad stuff.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe in good or bad. I believe that balance is key. I believe that nature keeps the balance by itself.
Okay.
I mean, who are we to say what's good and bad?
That's true.
As long as people are not deceiving or hurting people. Obviously, if you're a UFC fighter, you're going to be hurting people, but like, you know what I mean?
That's
like,
bad. Well, I don't know if it's bad. Yeah, okay, you're right.
So
who am I to say?
Yeah, so it's who are we to say what's good and bad? For me, as long as you're not harming, like there's a saying within the spiritual community, do harm to none. But again, that's linked in like a whole nother sanction of stuff. But
is there a big community here? Like, like people, I don't think most people would think of Medina, Ohio as a central location for spirituality and metaphysics and stuff. Yeah,
it's huge here. I was actually pretty shocked myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I opened up the shop, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. That's part of the reason why I started so small. For the people that have popped in my shop, they're always like, oh, it's really nice and cozy in here. I'm like, yeah, I know, that's another nice way of saying small.
Yeah.
But the reason why is because I didn't know, one, I started in the middle of a pandemic, so I had no idea like what sort of traffic would come in.
Yeah.
And two, I didn't know if there was a big spiritual community. I knew that there was a lot of people in Akron. I knew there was like people just kind of scattered out because most of people that practice spirituality are very solitary.
Okay.
So they don't really like talk about practicing because it's very hush hush. Because like you said, it's kind of taboo. A lot of times people don't really know. Like they're afraid of being demonized for saying like, oh, I meditate and I do yoga and they're just like, oh, okay. But so I didn't know what to expect, and I moved right. So the moment I opened up my shop, one of the wonderful people from Rose Company who I leased from, she was like, she's like, my daughter's really into crystals and stuff. Is that what you're doing? And I was like, yeah. So, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. And so it kind of like, I was like, okay, well, apparently like more people here like know somebody that utilizes these tools or whatever. And then I had this tall, beautiful woman come up to my door, and her name's Nina, and she's a clinical hypnotherapist in the area. She actually opened up her own spot, Bhavana, which is right up the street. But she was originally right up above, like how my building's set up is that there's the retail spots below and then there's offices above. And she had an office upstairs. And she's like, hey, are you the owner? And I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, yeah. Because I wasn't sure if you could get one side of people or the other side, or people that are just curious.
Right.
And she goes, I've been wanting to open up a shop like this forever. She's like, it's just too much work. Yeah. And she's like, plus with what she does, she's like, it's just too much. So she was asking, she's like, I would love to grab coffee with you and learn all this stuff. So then it was like that, like, I kept getting these signs of like, you're moving in the right direction, of like these people being sent to me of saying like, yeah, we're interested in this and we're interested in that. And next thing I know, it's like this huge community.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was there was a hunger for it. I think with COVID, when people were shut in, I think a lot of people had to dive inward, because I think with people constantly going through ways of life, it's easy for them to blame other people for their unhappiness versus going inward. But when you're shut inside and you're shut in your house, and you're still unhappy, that forces people to go inward and go, okay, what's going on with me that I'm still unhappy, that I'm not sitting here, like I don't have anyone to blame except for myself right now, other than, the fact that there's a pandemic going on. But
a little thing like that.
Yeah. But I think that caused a lot of people to start learning about self-healing and self-love and trying to figure out those parts of themselves that upsets themselves. Within the spiritual community, it's called shadow work, which is where if something is upsetting you, instead of going outward and reacting to everything around you, you go inward and you go, okay, what's going on within me, the reason why I'm upset? And then let's go in there and figure out if it's something that I need, like a trauma that happened to me that I need to forgive somebody, and not necessarily forget, but something that, like, you can forgive somebody for yourself and not for that person. Just to allow yourself to let go, release.
How do you learn all this? Like, are there conventions, or are there places you go and talk with others, or is it just from reading books and practicing?
Oh yeah, it's
Is there a college? Do you get a degree in this?
I think so. I think there is actually some sort of schooling and stuff.
Or something?
No, I don't know. Maybe I don't.
Druidism 101?
Yeah.
Now, how do you learn this? It's inherently part of you.
Yeah.
But how do you grow that?
So for me, it was just reading a lot of books, speaking to other people that are in similar practice with me.
Yeah.
Within spirituality, it's so vast, and there's so many different types of avenues that you can take down. I always tell people, don't worry about mastering everything. You're not going to, because life's too short.
Right.
So I usually tell people, just follow what makes you happy. I always compare it to Alice in Wonderland. I say, follow the white rabbit, Alice. See what things are popping up for you, like the little white rabbit, how she saw it and she started following it, and then she fell down in this portal, and then she came out on this magical adventure on the outside.
That's a good way of looking at it.
I always tell people, I'm just follow what makes you happy with things that are popping out to you. There's a reason why it's popping out to you. In my spiritual practice, I believe that we have people that look out for us, or energies that look out for us.
Yeah.
This could be your guardian angel, this could be your ancestors, this could be whatever, a deity that you work with, whatever, and they look out for you, and they're showing you these signs essentially to get you to your higher self.
So somebody or something is potentially guiding us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or at least helping us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that. There is an older woman in town who I see all over town. I have never met her. She has her little shopping cart, but literally once a week I see her in the most random places, and I just call her my guardian angel. I have no idea who she is, but in my mind she's looking out for me because she's always there.
Yeah.
If you had, going on the whole learning about this, if you had a dream vacation that you could take to deep dive into your world, where would that be?
Ireland or Scotland? Probably Ireland.
Yeah.
Because it has a lot of magic there. I mean, that's where Druidism is essentially rooted, which I would love to learn more firsthand of all of that. But yeah, just as far as learning for me, it was a lot of just reading books, talking to people.
Do you get together with other practicers and share experiences, or go through classes together?
So that's not normally a normal thing,
okay.
But I do it at my shop. So when I very first started, it was almost nearly impossible to try to find other people that were like-minded that practiced. Yeah. And even if you did find people that were like-minded, it didn't mean that they practiced the way you practice.
Gotcha. Okay. So everyone has their own way of doing this.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So yeah.
Okay.
So there's no right way and there's no wrong way. Just like I don't really believe that there's good and bad.
Right.
It's just. Obviously I have my own personal morals, but I don't try to push that onto other people.
Sure,
But yeah, so at my shop, I ended up, so as I was going through this adventure, I ran a little circle down in Kentucky, which meaning, a lot of people are like, what does that mean? It was just like a group of people that would get together that we would do yoga or we would practice meditation together. Just people that are like-minded that we could sit and
just talk.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
so we ended up doing that. I ended up doing that, and I realized how important that was for me when I moved back to Ohio, and I wasn't finding that same like group of people. What I got a lot of was people coming to me and asking me questions, and I'm like, that's great and all, but like I'm not a guru. I do not like I always tell people, I'm like, this is the way I practice, and this is what I've seen over the years of different people and how different people practice.
Yeah.
But that's not.
But that's what works for you.
Yes, exactly. Like that doesn't mean that if this feels good for you, then please feel free to take it and utilize it in your own way, or take what I'm doing and make it your own. But it doesn't mean you have to do it exactly the way I'm doing it.
So, I mean, running a business and practicing learning sounds consuming.
Yeah.
Do you ever get to relax? Like in your downtime, do you have hobbies, or what do you do to kind of check out and just be Lucy, just the person Lucy?
So, one, I'm a nature freak, obviously. If I am very much
talk
into
to plants.
Yeah.
Totally respect that. I do too.
I'm a nature freak. But so a lot of times I like to go boating.
So boating, like sailboating, like cruise ship, or like rowboats, kayaking?
Kayaking, and my dad has this beautiful like ski boat that we take out on the lake, and
that's what, two extremes.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing this. All right.
But I like, it's just like getting out.
Scares the heck out of me to even think of doing that.
Just getting out and just enjoying nature. I like camping a lot. I like hiking. But then I also have the other extreme where I completely hermit myself inside my house and don't leave. Like I will like put my phone, I will put it on do not disturb, which means the only people that are going to get through are people that are in like, that have a phone number within my phone.
Gotcha.
So like family members and stuff. And I will not leave the house, and that might be just binging like an anime or something like that, or playing video games, but I just shut myself off from the world and just allow myself to decompress. And I think that's very important for people that are a little bit introverted. Like I have a little mix of both, but I can sometimes get exhausted if I'm around too many people, which is that's in the spiritual world, it's called an empath, where you can take on other people's energies and you carry it with you sometimes, so you have to learn how to ground it and stuff. So being around people sometimes just can be energetically draining. And so when I go home, sometimes I just
check out.
I will lock the door, cuddle with my cats, play video games. And
sounds wonderful, actually.
Yeah, and I just, for a good solid like 12 to 24 hours, and just not, if somebody has to reach me that is in my important like friends group or family, they can reach me, but usually unless
just check out.
Yeah.
I love it. So it sounds like you get at the shop, you get a lot of people maybe who aren't from Medina, because you are drawing regionally. When you get someone that's been here for the first time, kind of what do you recommend about Medina? You say, this is what I love, while you're here, do this, this, and this.
Well, first, if they're coming in there for the metaphysical aspect of things, I always list off the other metaphysical stores that are in the area.
Okay.
I also let people know about different like yoga studios that are popping up and that have been in the area for a while. And then I'm like, if you get hungry, and then I list off like all the great places, my 5 favorite places. I always drop Coffee Colony because they're just fantastic people.
It just smells so good to walk in there.
I just love them. I really do. And so
they're really great.
Yeah, so I always tell people, like, pop in there. It's literally right around the block. You could walk there if you really wanted to, which I usually tell people to, because their parking lot sometimes can be packed, and it's just really sometimes hard to get in and out. So I always tell people, just walk up there, enjoy the nice walk, and ground yourself, and go in there and just I love that space. So I always tell people there, and then and then different food places that I like. And if people are into breweries, there's breweries all around town. So I'm always like, yeah. So I always tell people, I'm like, there's just so much here that, and it's very like down to earth when it comes to it. Like when I come to Medina, there's a shift. I feel like an energy shift. Yeah. Like there's a sense, there's a sense of like a moment that I feel like high vibrational, and then I just come right back down to earth when I walk and I drive in here. So it's really,
that's cool.
It's really nice. I like it a lot. But yeah, I just tell people of other places when they stop in the shop, and I have like a list of places that I usually refer people to. Yeah. But first, it's always like, are you here specifically for spirituality and metaphysical stuff? If you are, here's a list of places that are awesome to go visit. And if not, then if you're just here to kind of browse and check out the place, then here's another list of things.
Awesome. Lucy, thanks so much for sitting down. We wish you the best of luck with the store, and hopefully you expand your space soon and take on more and grow. Yeah. And we look forward to seeing what you do with the place.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah.